利用セレクトトラック12項を開始します。
Section 12.
Section 12.
Everyone will object if such an ugly object is put up here. The building is laid out so that it won't ruin the landscape. He lay down on his side with his knees bent. Everybody accused me of telling a lie, but I swear I didn't. The wages are not likely to rise, so I might as well quit right away. We won't allow the government to raise taxes any further. Controversy arose over the origin of the solar system.
Section 13. In general, people respond better to praise than to criticism. The moment he referred to it, she burst into tears and turned away. This chart illustrates how your brain reacts to stimuli. The party's policy has been polished to appeal to the middle class. She is flexible and capable of adjusting to any circumstance. The species that cannot adapt to climate change will become extinct. I felt sort of nervous at first, but I soon got used to it. First of all, notes should be brief and to the point. This machine is superior to previous ones in many features. What's more, it's less expensive. All nuclear facilities are subject to inspection. If you are sensitive to local customs, the people will accept you. We are always open to dialogue with our opponents. Section 14.
A generous man contributed an enormous amount of money to the charity. Going abroad will add new dimensions to your perspective. This material will give off a poisonous gas if it is exposed to the sun. I'm tired of explaining it to you over and over again. As he points out, those chemicals do serious harm to the environment. Leave it to me. I won't let you down. The boss introduced me to his staff at the meeting. We have paid particular attention to this subject. I was conscious that they were laughing at me behind my back, but I ignored it. I wanted to yell at him, but managed to hold it back.
Watch out! That's a trap!
Bob shouted to Lisa. I was mad at him because he got in my way on purpose.
Section 15. Apparently, he fell in love with the clerk at first sight. An elderly man sat next to Joe and stared at him for a while. You can tell at a glance which one is genuine. Before going into details, let's take a quick look at the summary. I'm looking for an apartment. Since I'm single, anything will do for now. Nick never gives us a hand without asking for something in return. The police are searching for a man who escaped from prison. If you don't apply for the job, you'll regret it. Individual rights have been sacrificed for what is called the common good. They can no longer take those privileges for granted. The officer was offended when he was mistaken for a thief. EC stands for Electronic Commerce. Section 16.
Bob lacks confidence because Lisa keeps on rejecting him. I've got to concentrate on what's going on now. I'm afraid their relationship won't last forever. We need your constant support to continue our research. Your judgment must be based on reason, not on prejudice. I bet you'll be disappointed if you count on them. Whether you get promoted or not depends on your performance. For the most part, Japan relies on the U.S. for its security. The theme of the exhibition is Turn Trash into Treasure. This fairy tale has been translated into several languages. The country is divided into 3 regions, each with its own distinct geography.
Section 17. The plane crashed in flames, killing all the passengers and crew. When he insulted her, she hung up the phone in anger. This tool is convenient. For example, it folds in half. She dressed in pure white to stand out in the crowd. He assured me that the Mercedes was in good condition, except for a few scratches. He was arrested on the spot for being naked in public. We are responsible for preserving World Heritage sites that are in danger.
What's the matter, Bob?
Can I have a word with you in private? She tends to define herself in terms of the approval of others. In my opinion, not all disasters are inevitable. His grades are neither excellent nor terrible. In other words, they are decent. Fill out the registration form in person. The communications revolution will affect us in both positive and negative ways. In a sense, the strength of the U.S. comes from its racial diversity. A labor union plays a significant role in maintaining workers' benefits. Section 18.
Actually, she's more interested in his fame than in his character. The number of people who are engaged in agriculture is decreasing. Unlike me, he has blind faith in religion.
I believe in evil spirits.
Don't be ridiculous. Internal documents revealed that the former mayor was involved in the illegal business. I was stuck in a traffic jam. Tom neglected what he was supposed to do as the man in charge. The U.S. frequently interferes in Japan's domestic affairs.
Why don't we drop in at his place?
Sure, why not? We can't move in until all the utilities are connected. It is my belief that hard work pays off in the long run. In the end, the man turned out to be innocent.
Section 19. We are very satisfied with the tremendous progress we have made. They were quite pleased with their new surroundings. Even if you haven't heard of him, you're probably familiar with his work. Modern civilization is faced with great challenges. Bob compared his annual income with others and felt miserable. In Japan, many people believe your blood type has something to do with your personality. He hesitates to mention anything that is associated with his past. I won't bother to vote in the next election, so I won't complain about the outcome. Bob pretends to be indifferent, but he's crazy about Jane. Bob is concerned about what others think of him. As for me, I don't care. Section 20.
What if we use up all the fossil fuels? You'd better use thick string to tie it up. So-called minorities make up a large proportion of the U.S. population. The primary aim of this study is to find out the effects of acid rain on forests. Tom is anything but ordinary. I can't figure him out. They could just make out some vague shapes in the distance. In any case, you'll have to work it out on your own. Stay away from guys like that, or you'll get into trouble. What can we do to prevent youth from turning to violence? We must take aggressive measures to keep our profits from declining.
Section 21. Some cruel experiments are underway in the laboratory. He's been under pressure to live up to his reputation. We must take bold action before the situation gets out of control. Your request is absolutely out of the question. Whenever you come up with an idea, write it down immediately. He caught up with them in the middle of the steep hill. He put away the pile of blankets and helped her with the laundry. I'd rather give it away to somebody than throw it away. Section 22.
I didn't recognize you, Bob.
I've put on weight recently.
He has a habit of taking off his clothes whenever he gets drunk. His behavior was far from appropriate for the occasion. She was aware of the rumor that had been going around.
I'm scared to ask her out. I'll be embarrassed if I'm refused. Just out of curiosity, are you seeing someone?
It's none of your business. He didn't express his thoughts for fear of being misunderstood. He learned to hide his emotions.
I'm attracted to Jennifer. How can I get her to notice me?
Don't show off or exaggerate to impress others. Just be who you are.
How about eating out tonight?
Sounds terrific. As soon as we started our conversation, Bob interrupted.
Section 23. He prefers to put up with his wife rather than divorce her.
Let me go. We're through.
Calm down, Jane. Let's talk it over. Although they now live separate lives, he still holds on to memories of her. Cheer up, Bob. Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. I'm ashamed of my rude remarks. I should apologize to her. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I guess she's upset. You should have been more polite to her. Leave me alone. I want to think it over for a couple of days. In addition to his regular monthly bills, he has to pay a fine this month. He earns, on average, 5,000 yen a day. We recommend that you keep track of your expenses. I wish I could afford to put aside some money. Section 24.
They aren't eager to carry out fundamental reform. They just try to put things off. The city council represents the entire community. The administration has no concrete plan to create prosperity. From now on, we'll have to do without luxuries. Apart from doing exercises, you should cut down on the fat in your diet. The paper bag was filled with a variety of seeds. I hate raw fish. For one thing, it smells awful. All you have to do is pour some boiling water over it. Bob lost his temper because they treated him as if he were an alien. He has a large vocabulary for his age. I can hardly pronounce the word, let alone spell it.
Bob's stupid, isn't he?
On the contrary, he's a genius.
Section 25. Quite a few people attended his lecture. He sat at a table by the window and watched people pass by. We felt comfortable in the casual but sophisticated atmosphere. Bob feels awkward in her company because she reminds him of his ex-girlfriend. Isolated showers are forecast across Chiba Prefecture. Nick's been sick for weeks and looks thin and pale. My alarm clock didn't go off because its battery had run out. By chance, I met one of my acquaintances in a Tokyo suburb. How can I gain access to up-to-date information? Please attach your name tag to each piece of baggage. He felt sad because none of his relatives came to see him off. Please turn off your cell phone while on board. Section 26.
He set out before dawn, so he got there with plenty of time to spare. When going sightseeing, you should use public transportation. Don't assume that your insurance will cover all the damage. This estimate does not include the agent's fee. Some abstract paintings were displayed upside down by mistake. This architecture is typical of the Middle Ages. Bob bumped into a statue and bit his tongue very hard. The tradition has been handed down from ancient times. The editor looked through the manuscript, but he didn't think it was worth publishing. He quoted the passage without permission from the author. They overlooked essential elements of his philosophy. Kawabata received the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Section 27. Try to conserve scarce resources instead of wasting them. He emphasized how urgent it was to find alternative sources of energy. The desert is not suitable for farming because its soil is not rich. We can't help worrying about global warming. The residents protested the construction of the power plant. Garbage was scattered in front of the factory. They didn't follow proper procedure. As a result, a tragedy occurred. The emergency shelter has a maximum capacity of 20 people. This vehicle runs on hydrogen, and therefore it helps reduce pollution. He deserves credit for his great invention. Will Japanese industries be able to remain competitive in the world? When it comes to imitating other cultures, Japan is second to none. Section 28.
Humans resemble apes. Does that imply we have evolved from the same ancestor? Most cattle are fed on grain. He developed a unique technique for modifying genes. All living things are composed of cells that contain a substance called DNA. This drug is pretty popular, especially in the US. Do you feel like going out for a walk for a change? This medicine will relieve your muscle pain in no time. Unfortunately, his cancer cannot be cured. The physician assisted his patient in committing suicide.
Nobody can rob me of my dignity,
he exclaimed. He insists that whoever commits a crime must be strictly punished. Before long, the case will be settled once and for all.
Section 29. These days, stadiums are sometimes named after corporations. He was reluctant to take on extra duties. We have entered an era in which only the fittest can survive. Lisa was hard at work. Meanwhile, Bob was just hanging around. His office is located on the 3rd floor of the plain 5-story building. This routine is annoying because it takes up my precious time. He is too selfish to share any burden. It is obvious that he is driven by a desire for wealth. Although discrimination is prohibited, it does exist to some degree. Some occupations are still dominated by males. As usual, he fell asleep after the meal break. I feel nothing but frustration with my lazy colleagues. Section 30.
We are looking forward to working on the project with you. Sincerely, we can better serve our customers by improving quality. This machine has various functions, and you can also use it overseas as well as in Japan. This is by far the most efficient way of transferring data. I know how to operate this equipment, but I can't fix it. Once you take it apart, you can't put it together again. If something goes wrong with it, you can have it repaired free of charge. These products are manufactured on a large scale. The vast majority of people retire with little to live on. The employees have been forced to work like slaves. We provide a wide range of activities for senior citizens. You determine your own destiny. After all, it's up to you.
Section 31. He is not mature enough to appreciate the consequences of his actions. We need to examine the motives behind bullying. He suggested a moderate approach to the complicated issues.
How do you interpret this phenomenon?
I have no idea. The authorities are desperate to identify the victims. They prayed for the souls of the brave soldiers. The crops were completely destroyed by the flood. On the continent, a large number of people are dying of hunger. The empire expanded its territory by conquering one tribe after another. After a series of attacks, they defeated the enemy. After decades of struggle, the colony declared independence. The country adopted a new democratic constitution. Section 32.
A riot broke out in the capital and rapidly spread to rural areas. We have no choice but to give in to their demands. Discipline is of great importance in restoring social order. Your moral values are reflected in your attitude. Statistics is a branch of mathematics. Above all, this analysis must be thorough and objective. Keep an eye on our bulletin board. We'll post the exact figures as they become available. Don't rush. You'll spoil everything. We must take every factor into account before coming to a conclusion. They met face to face to discuss the prospects for peace. I agree with you to a certain extent. We need to handle these matters at the same time.
Section 33. I've been brought up in the country and can't imagine what urban life is like. They are very much alike in background, tastes, and so on. The Grammy Awards ceremony is broadcast live via satellite. He has an extraordinary influence on the younger generation. Freedom and equality are guaranteed to everyone regardless of sex. No matter how silly it seems to you, I'll do my best. He succeeded in exploring the Antarctic for the first time. I admire your courage and enthusiasm. Without a vision or a strategy, nothing can be accomplished. Dozens of people gathered to celebrate his victory. I made it!
Congratulations!
Thanks. I owe you a lot.
Let's call it a day, Bob.